Well, the Republicans put out their official party platform, and the highlights are this. In a nation of immigrants with the Statue of Liberty on our shores, the Republican plan is to seal the border and carry out the largest deportation operation in American history, to stop the migrant crime epidemic, demolish the foreign drug cartels, and crush gang violence. No word about what we're doing about the white supremacists or out-of-control gun deaths or homegrown domestic terrorism, but 15 million brown people in camps? Check. They plan to defend the Constitution. I mean, they may as well have said they plan to defund the Constitution, since this is the same party that placed 6 justices on the Supreme Court to set fire to the Constitution by making the president above the law, and will have to torch all the legal rights bestowed on us in order to round up all those people in their completely unconstitutional deportation operation. But they plan to defend our rights, and our freedom of speech, and the freedom of religion, and the right to keep and bear arms, provided you choose the religion they want and say the things they want you to say and do the things they want you to do. Otherwise, we might have a problem, in which case, Second Amendment. We're also going to be the best at everything. Lowest inflation, biggest energy producer in the world. We're going to be a manufacturing superpower. I mean, that sounds great, but Joe Biden already made all those things possible with his Inflation Reduction Act and the CHIPS Act, which most of them voted against. So that one's already done? There are going to be tax cuts for everyone. And with the government having less money, apparently we are still going to have enough money to rebuild our cities and make them safe and clean and beautiful. Now, I don't know why we didn't think of this one before. I mean, it just seems so easy for the federal government to do this and not at all conflicting with federalism or states' rights. But they'll be defending the Constitution, right? So, no problem. They are going to strengthen and modernize our military, making it, quote, without question, the strongest and most powerful in the world. Because already having the strongest military in the world and spending more on defense than the next 10 countries combined is not enough. We need more. And we will have money to do it because the Republicans are going to save it by cutting federal funding to schools and to electric vehicles and to all those costly and burdensome environmental regulations. But don't worry, the cutting of federal funding to schools is only for schools pushing critical race theory, a course that only exists in law schools. So they will decide what critical race theory means, and those schools will have their funding cut. Those schools and any school that includes racial and gender ideology. So maybe don't say gay or talk about the Black experience in any school in the nation, or they'll cut your funding. They will also cut the funding to any school using inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content. So maybe they're not as interested in defending the freedom of speech as they might have said earlier. So just stay in line, just be white and straight and Christian and you're going to be good. But at any rate, defunding all of our schools is going to save us a ton of money. And speaking of schools, the official Republican plan is to deport all pro-Hamas radicals, to make our college campuses safe and patriotic, which doesn't sound at all terrifying, but it does remind us that the defense of the Constitution might not include the right to protest, which is, currently in the First Amendment, or to practice your religion, or to publish anything they don't like. Just, straight up deportation for you. I mean, maybe first sometime in the camps, but come on to America for college. Now, I'm pretty down with keeping the US dollar as the world's reserve currency, but to do that, I think we have to remain in good standing with Saudi Arabia, so we should just keep that in mind. I think it's really interesting that they say they plan to fight for and protect Social Security, since it wasn't in danger until their party came after it. So I'm not sure who they're going to be fighting. It would have to be themselves. They also said they're going to fight for and protect Medicare with no cuts, including no changes to the retirement age. Terrific. But again, those cuts and limits were Republican Party suggestions, so I'm not sure if the right hand is talking to the ultra-right hand in this case. And we could ask the Republican committee members that were supposed to weigh in on the RNC platform, but they weren't allowed to talk or offer suggestions or amendments. They were, as one RNC member said, rolled by leadership. But that's what you get in a dictatorship. They don't much care what the people think, even if it's their own people, because it's not about you, it's about them. Now, the Republicans did include the very important issue of keeping men out of women's sports, as well as preventing World War III. So those are both in there, so don't worry. I'm not exactly sure how they plan to prevent World War III, but apparently they will restore peace to Europe and the Middle East, maybe by giving Putin and Netanyahu everything they want, because there is no need to fight a war if you are given everything you want by an ethics-free America. We will also apparently be creating an entire Iron Dome missile defense system over our country, which seems expensive, but also kind of unnecessary if they're already bringing us world peace. They also plan to end the weaponization of the government against the American people, which I think you can read as let Donald Trump off the hook for all of his felony charges and set the insurrectionists free. Finally, they will secure our elections, which is fascinating since the Republican Party has voted against every and all election security bill that has come across their desks in the past 4 years. And ultimately, the plan is to unite our country by bringing it to new and record levels of success. Cool. So they rounded the whole thing out with a classic Miss America answer of, what would you do if you had a magic wand? And the answer is everything and all things, and don't forget world peace. Honestly, the whole thing reads like someone just took notes at a MAGA rally and left out the sharks. And of course, none of it matters, because Donald Trump or whoever they put in place when they don't need him anymore will have the power of kings. So none of this is going to matter. We'll just have to do what they say when they say it and take what we can get. So, go America!